Welcome back everyone. In today's video, I'm going to go over how to shop for routers and router bits. Now, I'm by no means an authority or even an expert on routers and router bits. Over the last decade, I've had a lot of experience with routers. I want to share with you some of the insights that I've gained over the years. First, I'm going to cover off the type of routers I have and why I purchased them. Now, when it comes to power tools, I'm not really a power tool snob by any means. The way that I approach power tools in general when I'm purchasing is I try to get the best brand for the least amount of money with the most features that I can get. That criteria will dictate the purchase that I make. For example, I've got a DEWALT router right here. This is just a fixed base router, so there's nothing really special about it. It's a 1 3/4 horsepower motor. This router accepts a 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch collet, so they both come with the router kit. And I purchased this specifically so that I can accommodate 1/2 inch router bits. Here's the 1/4 inch, and what's installed right now is the 1/2 inch. Not all routers will have that. A lot of routers will only come with a 1/4 inch collet. It's a pretty important thing to consider because it will drive the purchase of your router bits going forward. But this is why I bought this router, and it was around $200 with taxes altogether. You could probably pick it up for a little bit cheaper in the US. Next, we'll talk about the Makita Plunge router that I have. This is a 1 1/4 horsepower, so not as powerful as the DEWALT, but it has the Plunge feature. It's a very good Plunge router. It's a very solid design. I had to buy an additional guide adapter plate online. That was just a small cost to accommodate my guide bushings. It did not come with the adapter plate, but other than that, it came with everything I needed. They usually come with a really great router fence. That's one thing the DEWALT didn't come with. It was about $165 for this router. In terms of shop tasks, I'll tell you what I use each one for. So the DEWALT is used primarily when I'm working with my box joint jigs or if I'm working with my dovetail jig. I will use this for basic router operations. Anything that just needs a straight hog out of material, this is what I'll use. I'll use my Makita Plunge router for mortise and tenon joinery mostly. The base design on this, because it's got two flat edges on it and it's not a round plate like the typical router plate, it actually lends itself a lot better to different jigs that I build in the shop. And then my Makita compact router, or trim router if you will, it is really a fantastic little workhorse. I do use it obviously more than just for trim work. I will use it also with my box joint jig, although now I am going to be using the DEWALT more and more. But I really love it for quick jobs. The collet that comes with these two routers is only 1/4 inch. There is no 1/2 inch option. If you're only going to buy one router, I would suggest getting one that can handle both 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch shank. And if you are lucky and you can find something on sale that also includes a plunge base, that will give you everything you need and basically give you the functions of all three of these routers in one router kit. So that being said, I didn't buy all these routers all in one go. It took years to build up the collection of routers that I have now, and I only have 4 of them. My fixed base Ryobi router that's sitting installed in my router table permanently is what I bought about 10 years ago, and that was my first router. Over the last decade, I probably spent just over $500 on all the routers that I own in the shop. I by no means have a huge collection of router bits, but it is a growing collection for sure. Router bits can get very expensive. Some of them can get up to around $40 or $50 each, depending on the type of bit, depending on the brand, and depending on the quality. It's the same approach as I take to power tool purchases. For the price and the value, I go for the best quality, the best brand, and the best features that I can get. I've got a typical roundover bit in the 1/2 inch shank variety, and I've got a roundover bit in the 1/4 inch shank. Now you can see the difference when I put them both side by side. The 1/2 inch shank will give you a lot more stability in your cut. These will last longer, and Oddly enough, these are not priced that much higher than the 1/4" shank. This actually came from my Ryobi router kit. So I got a case with 20 bits and the router. It was some kind of a package at Home Depot, and this is going back 10 years, but I can tell you that that was a value package that I got, and I'm still using some of the bits that came with that kit. Actually, most of them, to be honest with you. This spiral carbide bit is one I use pretty often. I use it for some shallow mortising work. I also have a longer one that I use for other mortising work. Spend a little bit of extra money and get the carbide version because the non-carbide versions usually don't last very long. I own very few specialty router bits, but this is one of the few that I do have. It looks like it cuts finger joints, but it really doesn't. It cuts glue joints, which are just used to join two boards together edgewise. If, for example, you're gluing up a tabletop and you're not using biscuits or you're not using doweling, you can actually cut a profile into adjoining edges to make them line up and facilitate a better glue joint. I haven't really played around with it much yet. What I recommend is buy one good set and then start buying individual router bits thereafter, because you can easily spend hundreds of dollars before you know it on router bits. Another thing I wanted to mention are bearing bits. When you're going to purchase them, there are a couple of things to consider. First off, these are 2 bearing bits on the left here that came with my original router kit. So this is a flush trim bit, and that I will use to do some finishing work from time to time. If I'm doing pattern work or say a box joint, for example, using a jig, I will follow the pattern using a top bearing bit like this one. And you'll notice that it's removable. It's got a tiny Allen bolt and a collar on it that keeps the bearing in place. My top bearing bits will sometimes be customized where I will actually double up on the bearings like I did with this dovetail bit. This is the dovetail bit that I use with my dovetail jig. You will notice that the bottom bearing bits are also removable. There is a little Allen bolt right in the center here, so I can take them out from the bottom and replace them. This is a really inexpensive guide bushing set made by ShopFox. It is available on Amazon. You'll see a link to it in the description below. It comes with 8 different guide bushing sizes and 2 locking rings. These will work with just about any router base plate, and if they do not, ShopFox also carries a special guide adapter. This kit costs less than one of my router bits, so there's no reason not to own one. If you don't have a top guide bearing bit, you can use one of these bushings instead and get the same result, cutting out patterns. Well, that concludes this guide on buying routers and router bits. I realize it's really just only a primer, and it's only based on my experience so far. Once you buy a router, it's not going to be the last one you purchase. You're definitely going to end up owning more than one. If you have any specific questions or you want to see more about routers and router usage, please give me some ideas of what you want to see in the comment section below. Everything that you see here today can be purchased on Amazon. A little bit of that purchase will go towards helping this channel. So in advance, I thank you and I appreciate it. If you want to buy me a beer, head on over to my Patreon page right over here. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. There are a couple more videos on this side you can watch. Until next time, thanks for watching and have a great day.